Hello there, my name is Muddassar Ahmed and I'm international correspondent for LabourList, and I'm bringing you a series of conversations with progressive politicians from across the world. Very proud this evening to have my good friend Keith Ellison all the way from Minnesota.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, tell us a bit about what you do.
Well, right now I'm the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. In the United States, we got 50 states, and each state has a chief legal officer. That's me. We have a governor and we have an AG, an attorney general, and my job is to set the legal policy for the state that I live in, of about 6 million people in the north central part of the United States.
Wonderful. Tell us a bit about your journey. How did you get there? Of course, you did lots of other jobs too.
Well, I started out as a lawyer when I was 25 years old, and I was director of the Legal Rights Center, which is an office that represented people who didn't have enough money to afford legal representation, but who needed it because of whatever problem they had. Did that for about 5 years, and then I started doing a radio show and did that for a few years, and then went into politics. And so I practiced law, all told, about 16 years. Then I went to be a state legislator, then to Congress. You and I met when I was in Congress. And then, in 2018, I came to the conclusion that the best thing I could do to stand up for human rights, economic rights, and prosperity for all, to stand up for labor, would be to go and enforce the law. Not just write the law, but enforce the law that's been written. Because there's a good number of laws that are good, but if they're not enforced, it's like they're not even there. So I ran for Attorney General. I've been doing that since 2019.
Wonderful. Well, what is the part of your job you enjoy the most?
Standing up for the little guy.
Right.
So the tool I have at my disposal is basically the lawsuit, right? So we sued the company that is marketing vaping to children, which is illegal in the U.S. Adults can vape all they want, but you can't do that. You can't target like candy flavored vapes at little kids. We took them to court and we beat them. I prosecuted the case that involved George Floyd, where he was the ultimate little guy. He was murdered by 4 police officers. We got convictions on all 4 of those, and then and they're serving their time. We started an anti-wage theft unit. So a unit that does nothing but accept complaints by workers whose employer has not given them the money they're entitled to. So we go to court for these people and make these employers pay up. And we do these kind of things all the time. This is what the Attorney General's office does. We are a place where consumers, small businesses, workers can come and get their rights vindicated. And to me, it's a great benefit. I was at a community meeting the other day, and a lady walks up to me and she says, my employer didn't pay me, and you guys sued on my behalf, and I got my $7,000 that they owed me, and this meant all the difference. I was going to be homeless. And so that's kind of work that we do every day.
Wonderful. Important work. Now, in this, how does your relationship work with the federal government right now, particularly under the leadership of President Trump?
Right. So, like the United States, the states of the United States predate the United States, the formation of the country. So when the Constitution for the country was written, certain specific responsibilities involve the federal government, but then other responsibilities are state responsibilities. We stay out of their business and they stay out of ours. The state is viewed as a sovereign entity, just like the federal government. So when I sue the federal government, we go there peer to peer. I'm not suing my employer. Pam Bondi, who's the United States Attorney General, is not my boss, and she doesn't give me any orders. In fact, my only boss is the people who elected me. Right? And so that's the relationship. And we've had President Trump is the only president in American history who does not care what the law is, just does what he wants to do. And so when he violates the law, when he goes outside of his powers that are conferred upon him by the Constitution, we sue him. So we've sued him over 40 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The first one was on birthright citizenship. In the U.S., if you are born in the United States, you're a United States citizen. It's called birthright citizenship. Not every country has it. Mine does. And what he tried to do is reinterpret the 14th Amendment to the Constitution to say that birthright citizens don't have citizenship. That was the first case. He issued what we call an executive order, essentially an edict, a proclamation, and was going to deny children born to immigrant parents birth certificates, passports. We sued him right away, and we're winning so far. We sued him on up to 40 times. And one of the lawsuits was that in the United States, as in all countries, you have a natural disaster. We have hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, and so we have something called FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Administration. He said unless you allow your local law enforcement to be immigration officials, immigration officers, then we will deprive you of your federal money. So we sued him over this, and we won. And so this is the fight we've been in. He's been trying to stop states from adopting diversity, equity, and inclusion, something to try to make up for the wrongs of the past, which excluded people of African, Asian, Native American, Latin American background. These are programs that are trying to make our society more integrated. He doesn't like them. So he said, if you have those programs, we're going to deprive you of federal funds. We sued him over that. So we've just been taking this guy to court nearly every several times a week because of his illegal, unconstitutional behavior. So that's what it's like. Unfortunately, but I'm ready to sue him and take him to court as many times he's willing to break the law.
Right.
I'm not tired, and I got plenty of gas in the tank.
Well, look, shifting gears a little, some very different Democrats won the recent election.
Oh, yeah.
What stands out to you, beginning with Zohran Mamdani's campaign and victory?
Well, here's the thing about Zohran Mamdani. He's a brilliant guy with great talent. He's very well spoken and he knows the issues. But that's not enough to get yourself to be the mayor of New York. That is not enough to be the mayor of New York. He actually came up with a formula which must and should be replicated if Democrats want to win. One is he focused on the economic issues, the prosperity issues. I'm from the U.S., you're from the U.K. Both societies we live in have an implicit promise that if you work hard, you'll be able to have economic comfort, right? As a citizen of the UK, you have an implicit promise from your government that if you do what you're supposed to do and put the effort in, you will be able to have a life that leaves you with some level of comfort. Well, that promise has been broken in the U.S. There's a lot of people, I'd say as many as maybe 70% of American population that's living check to check, that doesn't have enough for retirement. Their children borrow money to go to college, student loan debt. They have not too much money savings in the bank, and prices are going up, and rents are going up, and people have been reacting against this. This is why Bernie Sanders has been successful. This is also why Donald Trump has been successful. So young Zohran Mamdani recognizes what I call an affordability crisis. And he's very disciplined because that's what the people need. And so he gives them a program people can say, yeah, that's what we should be doing. And he does it in a way that is clear, concise, and people understand. And so he wins. So I give him a lot of credit. I also give him give him credit for setting forth a path that others can be successful by if they follow it. Grassroots organizing, economic program that puts food on the table for people. And the beauty of his campaign was that it doesn't matter whether you're Muslim, Christian, or Jew, or no religion, whether you're black, brown, doesn't matter. Everybody needs to make a living, right? And if so, you put together a program based on economic viability for working people, and you reach out to people relentlessly, you can win. And I hope more people do it.
Now, what about Abigail Spanberger? What can we learn from the way she connects with voters?
Well, I think that she's a good candidate. I don't think she's as transformational as Zohran Mamdani. But I feel like she's a good Democrat, and she's running at a time when the man in the White House is so outside the boundaries of what people have expected from an American president from either party, that I think that look, she's a good candidate, but I think her greatest asset in some ways was Trump, and this is not to take anything from her, but I think she's in an environment where people are looking for ways to say no to Trump. And I think that's why she won by such a wide margin. And I also think she's focused on affordability, and I think that she reached out to a wide net of people. But I think that she is much more of what we've become used to in Democratic politicians. And so I guess that's my 2 cents on her. I mean, Virginia is a state that generally has been a blue state in recent years. And I consider her to be a moderate Democrat in terms of program. But here's the thing, Virginia, because our seat of government is in Washington, a lot of federal employees live in Virginia. And so Trump firing federal employees without legal basis, in my view, they need a candidate that's going to stand up for them. And so, and I'll tell you a little bit more to illustrate the point. One of the candidates was a fellow named Jay Jones, and he was running for Attorney General. And I believe Jay Jones is a good person. I really do. But Jay Jones said some things in private text messages that were indefensible. Even he admits it. He apologized for it. And he still won. You see my point? So part of that is because I think people forgave Jay because he made the apology. But I think another thing that was going on is that's just how much Virginians need to get rid of Donald Trump. That you can make a campaign mistake and still win because people are just that offended by what Trump represents. Now, again, this is not to say Jay's not a great guy. He is a great guy. He said some really stupid things, and he apologized for them. I accept his apology, and clearly Virginians do too, because he wins too. And so that's my take on the Spanberger campaign.
Whose messaging do you think would appeal to wider America? Abigail or Zohran, or a bit of both?
Well, I think Zohran has a replicable message. I think Spanberger won because, she's a moderate, respected person with a clean record. I think Zohran won despite his demographics, if you will.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look, Spanberger is a upper middle class white woman in Christian religion. There's nothing particularly groundbreaking about her campaign. I guess the fact that she's a woman is important. We still are fighting in a sexist world, so that matters. But I would say that she's very, very suburban, palatable candidate, right? And that's not a criticism; it's an observation. But I think that if you can be aggressive in social media, have a grassroots campaign with a strong economic message, I think that even if you are a democratic socialist, Muslim, brown, immigrant born in Uganda, you can win the mayorship of the city of New York. The biggest, arguably most consequential city in the United States. And, we got, there's LA, there's Chicago, there's my town of Minneapolis, which I'm very proud of. But New York is, New York is like the seat of economic power in the United States. And he's the mayor. And they spent a lot of money to defeat him. The most powerful people in the country were trying to make sure he didn't win. He defeated a legacy candidate whose father was the governor, which is a household name and has maybe 100% name recognition. What he did was remarkable. And he did it because, yes, he's glib and he's a great speaker, but he also had a program people could get behind. It was bold enough. Him saying that, look, we ought to have free buses and universal health care and child care for people. And everybody's like, well, yeah, especially after we've cut taxes for the richest of the richest of the rich so many times. It's time to do something for the regular people around here. So, yeah.
So that's thank you for that. And just moving on a little bit, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on. We're seeing a great deal of far-right vitriol being produced in the United States and spreading across the world. And infecting politics and discourse everywhere. And part of why we're doing these sort of series is to sort of also platform progressive voices.
Sure.
But coming back to my earlier point, I'd love to understand what advice you would give to, say, Britain, which is now increasingly under this sort of far-right political, moving the Overton window type situation.
Well, look...
or any country, really.
Yeah, sure, but let me just say, it's clear that... So the people who study this stuff can tell you that when economic forces make it particularly difficult to survive if you're a working class person, and simultaneously you see the richest of the rich just gathering up money, it also drives political polarization. And so economic inequality drives political polarization. And invariably people will ask, why is it that I'm working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and I can barely afford this flat? And my son just said he wanted to be on the football team. And I know that I cannot afford the shoes that he's going to need to go play ball. And that's not just an economic problem, that's a heart problem. So I would say, so people look for who's to blame. And so if somebody tells you it's those brown folks, it's those immigrants that are taking from you, some people are going to buy it. Not everybody, but some will. Some people can say, don't you remember you used to come down here and everybody in this pub was British and we would all sing some British songs and have a good old British time. And then they came. Some people might buy that false argument.
Yep, because you're giving them an enemy.
Right. So what Zoran is doing and what Bernie was doing and AOC and others and what I try to do is to say, wait a minute, your problem is not your new neighbor. Your problem, by the way, in Britain, they're not that new. I mean, you have 4 or 5 generations of people whose roots are from the Caribbean, Asia, and Africa.
Yep.
I mean, so nobody can come and say that, that Muddassar is not British enough.
No, they try, yeah.
They might try, but it's a lie. It's absurd, But my point is it doesn't ultimately hold any water. So what we can do is we can go to those same people
and give them a different enemy.
A true enemy. Because, look, in certain northern parts of the UK, formerly industrial communities that had some degree of prosperity because of industrial production have faced more economic tougher times. Am I right? And, you say, look, our problem is not our people who who have their roots in other places. Our problem is that all these people have been taking more and more and more of of prosperity from families like ours.
What do you say to people that say that that's just perpetuating divisiveness all around?
Well, look, what if it's true though? I mean, they might be right, But what if it's true? I mean, here's a stat for you. Now, I know the U.S. much better than the U.K., obviously. But in 1975, you could count a solid 65-70% of people who would be considered middle class in the United States. Now it's down to about 49%. So you've lost people have slipped into poverty, and they've slipped into a precarious economic existence. I'm 62. When I graduated from law school, I owed $12,000 in student loan debt. Kids pick that up a semester nowadays. Nowadays, if you're going to buy your average home in Minnesota, not in America, because you got New York and LA, which are much higher, but your average home in, say, Minnesota is going to be around $400,000. To somebody getting out of law school, that's an impossible number. I mean, unless you're some tech bro, you don't have it, right? And so the idea of a home ownership, which is a symbol of middle-class prosperity, these things are further away than they used to be. And now, a lot of people who are in their 60s, 70s, they're like, well, wait a minute. By the time I was 30, I was married. I had my own home. I had 3 or 4 kids. Now younger people are delaying family formation. They have more debt. They have lower starting salaries when you compare it to inflation. And they have more student loan debt. And it is causing anger, frustration, blame, and political polarization. So the answer, in my view, is yes, it may be true that if I say people like Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and Bezos and Tim Cook, if I say they have gotten massive tax cuts over the last 40 years and they've gotten the benefit of all these of a rising stock market and my family has been stagnating, yes, it is possible that you could alienate somebody by saying that, but it's also statistically provable.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so what I say is that in order to, if you ever want to you ever try to tell a story with no villain? It's hard to do.
I think we get back to that original point. Yeah.
I mean, you go to a kid who's 5 years old and you say, and you say, honey, I got a story I want to read you. Yeah. And he or she is going to say, well, who's the bad guy?
Yeah, 100%.
Right, that's the thing.
100%. I could, honestly, I've got so many more questions for you.
Sure.
And I would love to, but I can't, I know we can keep talking for a long time, but I want to ask one question and then end it, and this is going to be on a light-hearted note.
Oh, let's have a little of that.
When you think of Britain, what's the first thing that comes to mind and why?
Nice people, friendly people.
Oh, thank you.
Thoughtful people who care a lot about the rest of the world and including their own. And it's also a place outside the U.S. that I feel comfortable. Canada is very similar to the U.S. and the U.K. is got its own distinct culture, but there are a lot of similarities. And so I feel I feel like it's a wonderful, great country.
What's the thing you enjoyed most when you visited? Anything? What comes to mind? What do you remember?
Well, I had a lot of good times, man.
Yeah? Good.
I had a great time. So I remember being at Bradford Literature, and that was wonderful. I remember we went to the kebab house. Lahore Kebab House. Right. And then one night we were at your house, and you brought us fish and chips. Yep. So that's about as British as you can get, right? So, I mean, the bottom line is that it's a wonderful country, and the people of Great Britain deserve prosperity, peace, human rights, and it's my great prayer that we get them for both of our countries.
Yeah, I hope so too. Keith, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.